No feedback, Dan.
Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Man, that sounds amazing.
What a nice sound.
Yeah, it's incredible.
For anyone who doesn't know, the McCarthy soap bar has got new pickups. There was a vlog on it, but it's transformed the guitar.
It really has.
Sounding really nice.
Wow. Right, okay. What are we doing today?
Do you know what that was?
No?
It was an impedance.
What the hell's that?
Isn't an imp like a small fable type creature? It was an impedance, Dan.
Okay. And oh my God, it's an impedance!
For all the people who just turned off, you're missing out is all I'm saying.
Oh man.
Did you like that?
That is... Hang on, how long have you been sitting on that one?
I was writing, I was setting up the Logic session and I was like, oh, impedance, yeah. I actually think the Logic session is called Impish Dance, but anyway.
Better than impedance.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to mime that, right? Oh. So for those that... if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is not exactly normal, but it's not exactly abnormal either. I did hurt my finger in that whole tone bend on the first fret of the E string.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't hurt it
No.
doing that and hitting something?
No.
Okay, good.
I think I've summoned some good spirits doing that.
You have.
Which
Man.
we're going to need today because this is a real tweaky one.
Yeah.
This is a real tweaky one. In addition to all the stuff we talk about, like pedals and pickups and pot values and cable length and amp settings and pedal settings and all of this other stuff that meshes together in this wonderful thing we call guitar tone. One key consideration for, well, all amplifiers, but in the context of today's discussion, valve amplifiers, tube amplifiers for those of you in the USA, is impedance. What is impedance? Dan, what is impedance as it relates to speaker outputs?
I really don't know anymore. Okay. Right. In valve amp world, we've got... Man, this is going to be hard. We've got our output valves, and we need to bridge the distance between the power of the output valves and the speaker. So we use a transformer, right? So the output valves, we have, what we're talking about is a high voltage, low current, and we need to transform that to low voltage, high current to move the speaker. So that's what the transformer does.
Yep.
Boom.
Boom. Hopefully not boom, because by correctly matching the output impedance of your transformer and the impedance of your speaker cabinet,
Yes.
everything stays all happily balanced and no boom occurs.
Yes.
Just beautiful guitar tones. However, you will notice if you have a valve guitar amplifier, any guitar amplifier, most guitar amplifiers, you may have noticed on the back panel you've got speaker outputs that are probably labelled 4, 8 and 16 ohms are the most common ones. 8 and 16 tend to be on most amps, 4 on some. For reference, a Marshall 4x12, such as the one down here to my right, usually is 16 ohms, and they've been 16 ohms forever because Dan told me an interesting story about why they're 16 ohms.
Yeah, so back in the day, if you think about the old Marshall PA amps, and they were used like PAs.
Yeah.
You know, so people were using long cable runs for their speakers. Now, if you imagine you've got a 16 ohm output, and then you've got a long, speaker cable run. Let's say that speaker cable has got like a 1 ohm resistance.
Yeah.
Right? You plug that 16 ohm speaker cable, say you've got 2 of those speaker cables, 2 cabs, boom, and you've got a load now of like 18 ohms. Now, 18 ohms driven by a 16 ohm load is not going to be that much of a difference. However, using 4 ohms, right, and you've got 2 of those speaker cables plugged in, 2 ohms. So 4 ohms pushing a 6 ohm load. There's a big mismatch there.
I didn't know. I had no idea that speaker cables had a resistance in that way.
Yeah, absolutely they can do, yeah.
Which is not an issue for you and your guitar amp because the cable's about that long. It'll be negligible, so you don't need to worry too much about that. So yeah, Marshall cab will be 16 ohms, a 4x12 usually. Let's see, Fender Bassman Supers, very unusually 2 ohms.
Yeah.
With the way those 410s are wired. No, I'm not going to say most. Lots and lots of amps are 8 ohms.
Yeah.
Combos with single speakers, because speakers tend to be rated at 8 or 16 ohms, the actual speakers themselves. And how you connect them up determines what the total impedance load is.
Yeah, so if you've got, let's take our 2 drastic examples. We've got our 16 ohm Marshall, we've got our output, we've got a 2 ohm Bassman, right? And let's say, for example, they're both using output valves that might have a 6K output impedance, right, from the valves themselves. And you need to transform that to, in one hand, 16 ohms, and the other hand, 2 ohms. So you've got your primary, right, which is connected to the 6K, the 6,000 ohms from the power valves, right? And so we have our windings for the primary, and then we need to transform that to our secondary. So we have what's called a wind ratio. So the 16 ohm output transformer is going to take a lot more copper.
Right.
The 2 ohm. So basically, if you look at an output transformer, you've got the 6K. You're going to have much thinner wire, and the secondary side, the wire is going to be much thicker to handle the current.
Yep.
Right. And so when you're talking that sort of wire, and the ratio is being much higher, it's actually much cheaper to wind.
No way.
That a 2 ohm output transformer than is to wind a 16 ohm output transformer.
Huh.
Yeah. So all that stuff comes into play. There's no commentary there whatsoever on difference in sonic quality.
No.
But there's definitely a manufacturing process, and part of that 16 ohm thing is carried on from the tradition of Marshalls back in the day.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. Start looking into it. It's fascinating.
Where it becomes relevant to your guitar amp is you end up with, say, 3 speaker outputs.
Yes.
And if you've got a 50-watt guitar amplifier and it's got 4, 8, and 16 ohms, if speaker outputs, and you have a 4, 8, or a 16 ohm cab, 3 different cabs, the idea is you plug into any of those cabs using the correct output on the amp, and you get 50 watts.
Exactly, because you're matching the impedance from the output of those valves.
So in theory, for example, we're going to kick off today with Dan's Matchless C30 head on the Matchless ESD 212 cab. Now, as standard, this cab comes wired at 4 ohms. Dan has rewired it for 16 ohms.
Yep.
So what we're going to hear is some playing through the Matchless using its 16 ohm output into a 16 ohm cabinet. We're then going to rewire the cabinet, so we're using the 4 ohm output of the Matchless into the 4 ohm.
Exactly. So at 16 ohms, we're using all of the winding on the secondary, right? At 8 ohms, you'd be using basically half, and then 4 ohms, we're using a quarter.
Is that right?
That's exactly right. So we're tapping it off at different parts of the winding. It's amazing. So we're using, at 16 ohms, we're using the whole range of the secondary. Okay. So the question is it going to sound different?
Does it sound different?
Yep.
Same amp, same speaker cab, same speakers, same settings, same guitar, same amp, same pedal, same everything.
Yeah, we're not mismatching anything. Everything's matched. Impedances are going to be matched.
The only thing we're changing is the impedance of the speaker cab and the output we use on the amp.
Yep, totally. Okay, so this is the Matchless by itself. If you can turn me on, thank you. That's glorious sound.
It's such a great sound. Let me have a quick Schwang-Grilla on that.
Killer.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. Sorry, I forgot what key I was in. I'm not on Access with the amp,
Okay.
so I guess I'm hearing a bunch of different stuff, but it sounds pretty sweet from where I'm sat.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's amazing. So what I'll do, I'm going to set up a quick loop.
Yep.
Then we'll leave everything, every setting exactly as it is. I'm going to take it in there and rewrite for 4 ohms, come back, use the 4 ohm output, and then play the loop again.
The graphics on screen will tell the story.
All right. Wow. That's really interesting. So I'm hearing more thump in the bottom end.
I can't remember. About 20 minutes has passed since it was playing.
Okay.
And then you just hear it again. So it won't be till we hear it back that we can really tell. But you think you can hear more thump?
I think I can hear more thump. It might just be that my ears have had a break and I come back, it's gone, and that first note that came back in and just went thump.
I think it sounds more together.
Yes. Okay. I know exactly what you mean.
It
There's
has
less confusion.
Harmonic complexity.
Okay.
All the things I didn't like about the old bridge pickup in this.
Right.
Like a confusion of.
Yeah.
It feels like it's cleaner.
I know. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know if that's.
How interesting. Okay, let's have a play then.
Yep.
So that's just the amp.
Any observations?
It definitely feels that there's more bottom end in there. It's like a sub thing going on. But I know what you mean. It doesn't. There's more clarity. There's more. There's less confusion. It's really not for me. I'm as confused as anything ever. But yeah, there's definitely a difference there.
Okay. It's hard to remember. It's hard to remember what was happening before.
Yep.
My observation remains, though. It sounds more together to me.
Yeah. I think that's the best way of describing it. Be fascinated to hear the audio back.
Okay.
But I prefer that. That's the way I'm going to leave that like that.
Yeah, you think on that listen, you think 4 is better than 16?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way it's come from the factory, funny enough.
Yeah, I haven't, to be honest, there is obviously a reason they do that. And one would assume it's because it's what they think works the best.
Sure.
I haven't read any forums on it deliberately. Okay. All right. Let's go through exactly the same process with the Marshall.
Okay.
Because, we found this to be the case for the Matchless. And to be honest, without hearing the audio back, whether we'll hear any difference at all in the recorded audio is yet to be discerned. All right. Marshall 1987X. It's a 50 watt plexi reissue from, I don't know, mid 2000s, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Completely standard. We've got it jumped. The treble channel is on a tiny bit, but not much.
Just on.
And the normal channel's on a bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not heavily overdrive, and this is an amp that's very quick into overdrive, and we don't have it set like that. We have it set with a fair bit of headroom.
Mm-hmm.
It's running into a 2x12 cab. There's a custom Zilla 2x12 cab that has Celestion Alnico rubies, which we originally got for Dan's Matchless and didn't like them very much.
No.
Because they roll off quite a lot of high end.
Yeah, they're very
However, the high treble channel in the Plexi is
loves them.
Horrible because of the horrible bright cap. And so
it sounds awesome.
It rolls a bit off and it really suits the amp quite well, I think. So let's have a listen to that. Dan, have a Shangri-La on that.
Okay.
Oh.
Lovely.
Pretty direct, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really nice.
Overdrive? What was that?
Getting lucky?
That was killer. Went for a lick down here and realised I had no idea what I was playing. So it's like, oh, need to get back up. Need to get back up there. Need to get back up there.
It sounds great.
Marshall.
So that's 4 ohms, right?
Yeah. So out of the back of the Marshall, it's on the 4 ohm output, and the speakers, 2 8 ohm speakers wired in parallel to give 4 ohms.
Okay.
So I'll do the same thing. I'll set up a loop and play it. We'll rewire the cab. And come back.
Okay. This is so interesting.
Well, the 16 ohms definitely makes me play more out of time.
That's been my problem the whole time. I've been using the wrong impedance.
I would say my thoughts for the Matchless concur entirely.
With the thoughts for that one?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It sounds more confused, doesn't sound as open and as airy to me. But again, you know, saying this and hearing the audio back is going to be really interesting because, you know, it's been another 15 minutes for Dan just to rewire the speakers.
Okay. Well, let's have a play.
Yep.
And see what we think. That is really interesting. There's something about that being a little bit less together that works for me.
That you prefer?
I don't know if I prefer, but it definitely works better than the Matchless did. I don't know if I prefer it, but it felt that togetherness and that clarity in the Marshall. I don't know, that sense of it's a little bit looser.
You know, we
works.
are totally going to have to revisit this one day with some sort of switching system which makes it easy and quick.
Sure.
But also, I bet it varies with volume.
Yeah.
Because think about the impedance relationship between a transformer and a speaker with differing frequency and volume.
Yeah, of course, because that impedance it's all frequency dependent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why your attenuator always doesn't sound like a speaker. Anyway.
Wow. Go on. Have some swingage on that. Far out, man.
That's really playable. That was. I can't remember if before whether it was the Lightspeed and the Warthog or the Ages and the Warthog, but there just seemed to be like a mid-range thing that just all came together there and made it all buttery and nice.
Yeah, there's a sponginess to it.
And I was like, oh, this is nice. It's nice. And off went the fingers.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I definitely don't have a preference either way with that.
I think, seeing as the Marshall generally is 16 ohms, I think leaving that cab at 16 ohms is probably a good idea.
Yep.
What's really interesting is that there's a difference, and it's all the impedances are matched perfectly. It's still 50 watts, but by using the different either all the transformer or not all the transformer, like the Matchless is only using it's not quite a quarter, but it's a quarter of the secondary.
Yeah.
So it's a much higher wind ratio.
I guess the truly interesting bit about this video will be the straight back-to-back comparisons. But then I think the kind of observations in between that of what it feels like to play are also interesting. And those are the sorts of things you probably notice over a given period of time.
Sure.
So if you were used to playing in, I don't know, different venues or practicing at home or practicing with mates or whatever it is that you do, doing it repeatedly for a while and then changing it is where you would notice the difference.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is mismatch the impedance.
Yep, so we're going to use a Mesa Lone Star for this because Mesas have pretty robust output transformers, and actually in the manuals of some Mesa amps they encourage you to muck about with the mismatching the output impedance.
Okay, fingers that?
Why not?
Back in the room.
Right, Mesa Lone Star. This is the classic version, the 100 watt. I've got it set on the 50 watt mode. We're in channel 2, normal, no thick or thicker, no extra gain. So it's just channel 2, so it's a little bit pushed, which puts it somewhere close to where we were with the Marshall.
Okay.
It has 4 and 8 ohm speaker outputs.
Okay.
And it has an 8 ohm internal speaker. So what we're going to do, we're going to hear it at 50 watts at 4 and 8 ohms using the same, and we're going to hear it at 100 watts at 4 and 8 ohms using the same sound.
Cool.
So I think a loop is appropriate. Do you, Daniel?
Yes, we could do that.
Do you want to play it a bit first just to see?
Yeah, definitely.
Get your funk on. That was a nice bend.
Oh, thank you. It sounds fantastic.
There's more complication up there in the high end, isn't there? A bit of histrionics and...
Yeah, right.
It does sound nice, though. Nice
yeah, it sounds really great.
Hit with the pedals. Okay, I think we should probably set up a loop.
Okay.
And then we can hear that back to back at 8 ohms, which is what it is currently, and 4 ohms. I have to stand up to do loops. I don't know why that is. I can't sit down and operate my foot at the same time. Not a huge amount of difference.
No. So theoretically, we are halving the amount of impedance that we're using. Therefore, we're doubling the current we're using in that speaker. And as a thing that happens with output transformers, what happens on the secondary is sort of repeated on the primary, or sort of mimicked on the primary. So sort of matter of Ohm's law, that current, now that we're doubling with the output, you'll see a double of the current now on the input as well, so that the really low current. So remember the primary, we've got large voltage, small current, but that small current is now doubled. Still relatively small, but it's one thing to be careful of. Normally, if you with an amplifier, normally it's fine to go from 8 to 16 because we're halving the current.
Yeah.
Right. So that's quite safe. But with an amplifier that's sort of designed sort of on that edge, if we then double the current, then that's where you can run into risks.
Because you're asking the output transformer to do more work.
Absolutely.
Let me just check that I've got that right and that I didn't go from one 4-ohm output to the other 4-ohm output.
Okay.
That's always possible. You know how these things are. No, that was definitely 8 and 4.
Right.
Okay, I want to do exactly the same thing, but 100 watts.
Okay.
So here's 100 watts.
Heavens.
Here's 100 watts at 4 ohms.
Ah!
Ready?
Yep.
100 watts at 4 ohms. It seems louder at 8 ohms to me.
Yeah, it's just that thing of matching the impedances properly.
It does seem a bit louder. I know in days of yore,
Where they do the impedance.
at the end. We can do the impedance together at the end. I can remember from having single rectifiers, there was one particular 50-watt rectifier, Rectiverb, I think it was called, combo, that I always thought sounded much better at 4 ohms than 8.
Wow.
It was tighter.
What was the speaker?
8 ohms.
It was 8 ohms. Wow.
Yeah. And then the reason we flipped from 50 to 100 watts is because obviously the power output makes a difference as well.
Sure.
All right, what have we learned then, Daniel?
Well, we've learned that I think matching the impedances is actually really important, but there is a difference there. Even with matched impedances, there is, it's something to have a play with.
So we think the Matchless sounded different. Before we have the opportunity to listen to the audio, we think the Matchless sounded different 4 ohm output, 4 ohm speaker than 16 ohm output, 16 ohm speaker, same amp, same cab, same guitar, same pedals, same everything, just different impedances.
Yeah, different impedances. So a couple of things going on there. You're using, with 4 ohm output, you're using less of the windings of the transformer. With the 16 ohm output, you're using more of the windings, and you've got the two speakers wired in series instead of parallel. So instead of both speakers taking exactly what they need as far as, the current from the amp, you've got one going to one speaker and then into the next one. So, that also plays a part as well. All those things matter.
So I wonder if we'd use a 212 with that, whether that would have made any more difference then. Who knows? Who knows?
It's so interesting. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed.
Regular viewers will know that normally we say thank you to a few people now, thank our patrons and all of that sort of stuff. But instead, we are going to hand over to Scott Coombs, voiceover artist, who sent us this fantastic clip. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Massive thank yous go out to our patrons on Patreon, without whom the show wouldn't be possible. Our preferred retailers for all your pedal and musical instrument needs. In the UK and Europe, Anderton's Music of Guildford in Surrey. Our mates in Australia, Pedal Empire of Brisbane, Queensland. And Sweetwater. Find their links cleverly displayed in the description below. We'd like to thank everyone who's bought anything from thatpedalshowstore.com, such as hats, t-shirts, hoodies, gift cards, journals, coffee mugs, coasters for the coffee mugs, strings, stickers, pencils, pedals, and the ever-popular more.
That's incredible, Scott. Thank you so much for doing that. It's amazing. All right, cheers, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to the exits. Dan and Mick have left the building. I repeat, Dan and Mick have left the building.